All right, so this is kind of a part 2 to my little Disney vacation recap. This is not the Disney recap section. This is just me talking about stuff. Okay, so we went on vacation. We got back on Friday morning. We got back at about 3:30 in the morning, and because we went straight from Disney to Marion, got the dogs, I drove straight home. Oh man, I was so tired. I mean, I take that back. It's not that I was so tired. I couldn't keep my eyes open. I had to leave the windows open. At first, I had the air blowing in my face because Disney was heating to death. And then, Dancer, did I say Disney? I don't know. That. You see what's on my mind. Dancer was heating to death in the car, so we had the air blowing, but it was blowing in my eyes, and it was drying them out, and I was like, doing this to try to keep them open, so I couldn't tell if I was sleepy or if I just couldn't keep my eyes open, but I think it was a little bit of both. So then I opened the windows in the back, so it was kind of blowing around me, and after a while that was making my eyes dry, and it was freaking freezing. I didn't have anything to wear. So anyway, we did make it home, though. We stopped a couple of times so I could just kind of get up and walk. Tia slept, I hope, most of the way home. So we get home 3:30, and she has to go to work in the morning. That was why we drove the whole way home on Thursday night. I was cleaning up. I got everything out of the car. I told her to go to bed. I will do everything so that she could get to work without having any issues. Well, I heard her alarm start going off, and I was thinking, okay, well, I hear somebody walking around up there, and at least I thought I did. It might have just been Fidget walking around. But I kind of laid down on the couch. I honestly don't even vaguely recall laying down, but I did. So I laid down on the couch, and about, I think, 9 o'clock I woke up, and I was like, where am I? What time is it? Where are we at? Oh, we're at home. That's right. Tia has to go to work. She probably already left. So I'd walk upstairs, and because I didn't remember her coming down kissing me goodbye or anything, she is fast asleep in that bed. 9 o'clock. She's supposed to be at work at 7:30. So I got in the bed and I was like, Tia, you need to get up. And she's like, oh, what time is it? And she looks at the clock. She's like, oh, no. But then dozes back off, and it's like 10 o'clock before she gets back up. And she called her boss, and she was like, I'm sorry, late night, slept in. I will be there ASAP. So she finally, I think, got to work about 11:30. So everything she did was billable for next week. There was nothing on this week. Just kind of the way they do their time cards or whatever. So she did get there. She didn't get in trouble. She just had a lot to do. Apparently there were a lot of changes, like the CEO stepped down and people that were supposed to be there weren't, blah, 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 blah. So we, for the rest of the day, basically I went out, I pulled some weeds, like while the dandelions were blooming, I went out and pulled them out of the ground. And I was basically babysitting Dancer all day because she's not feeling well. I'll get to that in a second. So I was over getting my mail from Brad, and he said that, he asked me, he was like, so I was wondering, is there a way that you can turn the lights down a little bit or angle them a little bit, because they said that there's people straight across the street with those damn dogs said that there was the light was shining in their kitchen windows. I said, I can. He was like, well, will you? And I was like, I can. But then he asked me, he was like, you don't get along with them, do you? And I said, no. And he goes, well, what happened? So I basically told him that, it started with their dogs because they were constantly in our yard. And I asked them a couple of times, can you keep a hold of your dogs? Well, if anything ever happens, you just come over and let us know and we'll clean it up. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have to do that because they're your dogs. You should be able to keep track of your dogs. If they're in my yard, that means that you're not keeping track of them because you put them out during the day and you leave them and then you call them back in whenever they're done doing whatever they do. Put them in your backyard because it's fenced. They don't need to go out the front. So I have no problems with not fixing the lights on my house at night because they're so bright. Sorry. I've asked you to do that. You haven't done it. You didn't actually ask me to do this. You went through Brad, and he's asking me if I can do it. And no, I'm not going to do it. Because, second, when I drove home late last night after we were going out and eating with our friends, I was looking where those lights were aimed. They are aimed at the ground, about 20 feet from my house. Nothing is shining in your windows. Yeah, you might be able to see them from your windows, but they're not shining in your windows. They're shining at the ground. And if you wouldn't turn your lights off at night, so it's pitch black dark over here, I wouldn't have to make sure the whole area is illuminated so that those people don't come back and steal crap out of our cars. They got stuff stolen out of their cars, and they still don't turn their lights on at night. 10 o'clock every night, they go and they turn their lights off. They lock their car now because I can see them go bloop, bloop, but then they turn their lights off. Okay, well, what happens when they come back? So I'm making sure that my house is illuminated and that I can see with my security cameras if anybody comes. So, and kiss my butt. Okay, so Dancer. Dancer is, I think she might be on her last leg. She has, I'm equating this to what my grandfather and my grandmother looked like, mostly my grandfather, right before they died. And they just kind of got really weak. They never got out of bed, and then they stopped eating. I mean, she still tried to drink, but she stopped eating. She could barely stand up, and she's constantly falling and just kind of like, you know what, I'm just going to lay down right here type of thing. So I have to carry her outside. I have to carefully monitor as she walks around, and then I have to carry her back inside because she doesn't have the strength to walk up that little incline back up to the stairs. So I'm honestly thinking that by the middle of next week, she's probably not going to be with us any longer because she's Dancer. Has now not eaten dinner last night, and she did not eat breakfast this morning. She kind of looked at it, and she kind of moved back, and she's like, I want to go lay down. So Tia's parents, while they were watching them this week, said that she seemed to be getting worse all throughout the week. And I haven't weighed her yet. I really need to weigh her. Last time I weighed her, she was 30-something pounds. Let's say 35. After she lost all that weight. But, yeah, I honestly don't think she's going to last through next week. So, we're just going to baby her until she drifts off. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. But until then, I think that's all up to this point. My little brother invited us to see Endgame, Avengers Endgame today. Today is Saturday at 4 o'clock. This will have been the second time we saw it. We actually saw it on opening day last week before we went to Disney World. But we're going to go see it again because my niece hasn't seen it, and we're all going to go with her. So that's it, and I will see you when I see ya.